As we prepare for the word preached, would you join with me, your hearts and minds in prayer? O God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of each of our hearts be found acceptable in your sight, for you are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. It's as if Mother Nature prepared us for today's reading from Ecclesiastes with the weather we had on Tuesday and Wednesday. Do you remember how foggy it was earlier this week? Think about it for a moment. The fog, the mist. Oh, how foreboding fog can be. Anyone else ever watched the fog roll in over San Francisco Bay? I have. Yes, some of us have. Talk about foreboding, frightening. I think I was actually on the Bay Bridge the last time I watched the fog roll in. That was scary to see this mass come barreling towards you, obscuring your view. And when fog is that thick, it looks as if it has the power to knock you over. Plus, the way to deal with that kind of fog is counterintuitive, right? If you're in your car and you can't see, what do you automatically do? You turn on the high beams. But when you're in fog, can you turn on the high beams to see better? No. So what's interesting about today's passage from Ecclesiastes and how it relates to all this fog and mist is that we can translate the word vanity to fog or mist or wind. Isn't that fascinating? See, if we did that, then our passage for today might read like this. Instead of vanity of vanities, it would read, fog of fogginess, says the teacher. Mist of mistiness. All of this is just fog and mist. Oh, that puts a different picture in our minds, doesn't it? Imagine your life, all of it, all of the stuff of your life as just fog and mist. Oh, that's different, isn't it? Now, there's another way to translate this word, vanity, because it can also be translated as meaninglessness or folly. So instead of saying vanity of vanities, what if the passage read, meaninglessness of meaninglessness, says the teacher. All of this is just meaningless folly. That's how the book of Ecclesiastes begins. Verse 2 just puts it right out there. It's all vanity. In other words, all of life is just meaningless fog. Wow, aren't you glad you came to church today, huh? It's a real upper there, Pastor. What an uplifting message. Yes, well, the writer of Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, the philosopher, the teacher, is no little Mary Sunshine. We are not dealing with a Pollyanna here. No, Kohelet is a realist, not a sugarcoater. Remember, this is the guy from whom we get to everything there is a season and a purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. Spoken. Truer word. This is the kind of commentary that we get from Kohelet. He calls it like it is. And even though Kohelet starts off by saying, it's all meaningless, and sidebar, Kohelet may be a realist, but he's a little bit of a drama queen too. It's perfectly fine to see that in the text. Kohelet backs off and specifies. Really, there are three things, that are most monotonous and meaningless. Knowledge, work, and rest. Folly. All three of them are folly. First, knowledge is vanity because greater wisdom just brings greater sorrow. The more you know how messed up the world is. Moreover, the world's wisdom is pretty messed up too. What passes for wisdom in the world leads to more sorrow. Knowledge is vanity. Next is work. Work is a twofold vanity. One, work is hard and time-consuming. You spend so much time working in your life that you don't get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And two, to add insult to injury, not only do the people who inherit what you worked for in this life get to enjoy it instead of you, but they might misuse it. Work is vanity, Kohelet says. And lastly, rest. Rest is vanity because life is painful and work has you so worried, that you can't sleep. This is also vanity, Kohelet tells us. Rest is folly. Yes, Kohelet, believe me, after many a sleepless night, when my mind won't shut down because I'm still trying to solve yesterday's problems, or I'm so overwhelmed and consumed by worry that I don't sleep. Yes, Kohelet, even rest is vanity. Vanity of vanities. All of life is vanity. So what's a person to do? If all of life is folly, what's a person to do? Well, friends, here's where I take issue with the Revised Common Lectionary. See, we follow the Revised Common Lectionary, a schedule of scriptures parsed out in a 3-year cycle, with each Sunday's readings including a selection from the Old Testament, Gospels, Epistles, Psalms, etc. Now, we tend not to read all 4 selections. We only read what we focus on in worship. And most of the time I love the lectionary, but there are days, like today, when I just have no idea what the lectionary people were thinking. Thank you, lectionary masochists, for cutting off the Ecclesiastes reading here. Thanks for leaving us with vanity. It's all vanity. It's all meaningless. It's all fog and mist. It's all dissatisfaction. It's all hopeless. It's all worthless. It's all folly. Ugh. We might as well add to Kohelet's list the lectionary, vanity. The lectionary is all vanity. Except that's how we feel sometimes, don't we? Like it does cut off right there. Like all of life is all worry and work. Like all of life is pain and suffering. Like we're forever stuck on the Bay Bridge watching the foreboding fog roll in. Doesn't it feel like that sometimes? Like you're going to get swallowed up by the fog of life? It certainly feels like that for me sometimes. So maybe by naming our work and our worry, our pain and our suffering as vanity, as mist and meaninglessness, maybe Kohelet is trying to be like the sun and burn the fog off. Do you remember what happened Wednesday at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon? I was in the office, and all day long the skies had been gray, it had been cloudy and foggy, and then all of a sudden, at about, 2:30, there was sunshine. And that gray day, all that mist just burned away. See, Kohelet is trying to remind us that yes, life is a lot of folly. But put it in perspective, put it in balance. Don't rush to turn on the high beams, but just go slowly and surely. Well, if you do that, then it won't all be meaningless. What is the antidote to this worrisome, troublesome, monotonous life? Well, we just have to read a verse or two beyond what the lectionary offers us today. Hear these words from Ecclesiastes 2:24-26. There is nothing better for mortals than to eat and drink and find enjoyment in their toil. This also, I saw, is from the hand of God, for apart from God, who can eat and who can have enjoyment? For to the one who pleases God, God gives wisdom and knowledge and joy, but to the sinner God gives the work of gathering and heaping, only to give to the one who pleases God. This is also vanity and chasing after the wind. So what is the answer? What is the answer according to Kohelet to the pain and suffering, the work and worry of life? First, eat, drink, and be merry. Yes, you heard me. Go out and have a good time. Life is a gift. Treat it that way. Have a party. Dance in the rain. Smell the roses. Paint your house purple. Laugh until your sides hurt. Bask in the goodness of life with the people who you love. Eat, drink, and be merry. It's in the Bible. Do it. But as the gospel lesson points out, if your only goal in life is to reach ultimate security so that you can just eat, drink, and be merry all day, then you're missing something. You're missing something in this life. It's not enough. So, what's number 2 for Kohelet? What's the second part of the antidote? It's to please God. And how do we please God? Well, we serve God. That's how. When we aren't serving God, we're merely being self-serving, like the guy in the parable from the gospel lesson. And that, Kohelet says, is just a life of gathering and heaping. Oh, what an image. Gathering and heaping. That's also vanity. It's also meaningless. It's also just a bunch of fog that we live in. So we have to get our priorities right. Serve God, put God first. And if you put God first, you'll take time for Sabbath, for instance, instead of just working all the time. And if you put God first, you'll give generously of your time and talent and treasure instead of bemoaning the fact that all you do is work, and for what? Look at what a difference you could make in the world. Put God first, and then you won't fall for the world's wisdom. It won't make the pain and suffering of the world go away. This is true. But this way, you know that you won't be alone in your weeping for the world. And maybe if we put God first in our lives, we will rest in the Lord. Stop worrying about everything under the sun. and be able to get a good night's sleep. Vanity. Vanity of vanities. It's just all vanity. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Amen.